Yo, what's up and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. And this time we have the best solo queue champions for each role and just for you. We've got a few gems here and there, so stay a while and listen. We've teased it for a few weeks now and now it has finally arrived. We are launching our brand new channel membership and we created something truly unique and special just for you. Once you become a channel member, you'll get access to specialized pro content depending on your membership level. For example, our first tier features brand new emotes and badges which you can use in the comments down below. You'll also gain access to the best, and I really mean best, we did a few weeks of calculations for this, builds, runes, skill paths and summoner spells for every single champion in the game. And that's not even all yet. We'll be hosting a member-only Q&A, group coaching and grant you access to early tier lists. With this, we are going to make sure that your gameplay reaches the next level. Either way, thank you all for supporting our channel, be it as a member or as a viewer. We are glad to have such an amazing community. Check it out, but now let's continue with the video. Number 1 on this list is Ahri. Ahri can confidently be blind picked into almost everything and will still be able to shine throughout the game. As a champion, she can always push the lane and rotate to her jungler. It's very hard to deal with her because of simply that fact alone. And even if you want to gank her, there's a few things you have to take into consideration depending on what level she has. Level 2 she has access to a charm or second ability, which is a movement speed steroid. Level 3 she'll have access to everything, which means you're not gonna get her killed, unless she has everything on cooldown. On level 5 you can almost forget your chances of getting her killed unless the only goal you have is taking her ultimate cooldown away from her. Which, if you think about it, is quite valuable in the context of having an objective fight. Because the moment we get into objective fights, things get really messy against an Ahri. Because Ahri's catch potential is absurd. So even though it's not her damage that makes her so annoying to deal with, it's rather her mobility in combination with the ability to assassinate people with a well-used charm. So whenever the Ahri gets access to your backline, or charms literally anyone, he is very susceptible to getting absolutely destroyed by Ahri's teammates. And even though yet again Ahri isn't dealing the most damage, it will still be enough to deal with an AD carry in most situations. And once the Ahri gets rolling and gets a few items under her belt, she deals quite a lot of damage then, especially once she completes the Luden Spike. But now let's talk about the biggest problem when you're facing an Ahri. Similar to other champions like for example a Zed or any other assassin, you have to respect the fog of war really well against them. Because once you enter it and they might be waiting for you in a brush or wherever else, you are really fast, really dead. And if this was only throughout the laning phase or the middle stages of the game, it would be bearable. But it happens throughout the entire game. The moment the enemy team picks such a champion like Ahri, you really cannot walk into fog of war alone anymore. You need your teammates to do the work for you unless you wish to lose the game. And as we all know, in solo queue a well-coordinated team is something that we don't see many times. And even if it just takes 1 second for anybody to mess up and then you're gone. And in the later stages of the game, being gone means instantly losing unless you have a demonically good teammate. And if you want to become such a good teammate, what about consuming more of this content? If so, hit the sub button and like button to never miss anything like this ever again. And from here, let's move on to our question of the day. Are you going to view the games played on the first international Wild Rift tournament, the Horizon Cup? If so, let me know in the comments below. And now let's talk about the second champion on this list. Kaisa. Yes, she has been nerfed. But as all of you know, Riot Games' nerf policy, literally always or most of the time, seems more like a placebo. The nerf is a nerf on paper, yes, but it's not severely impacting the way she's going to be played. It's removing a little, like a tiny bit of a damage, but she's still gonna be able to fulfill every of her roles without any problem at any point of the game. Be it carrying, be it isolated 1v1s, or be it one-shotting a wave, everything can still be easily done by her. So let's talk about her a little bit, and why she is so good in solo queue. AD carries really love something. It's number 1 called damage and number 2 called mobility. Now let's talk about Kaisa's kit for a bit. She can go invisible in a fight, she can relocate herself in a fight, and she has burst damage and consistent DPS with clearly defined power spikes. How could you not love this champion? It is absolutely broken on the AD carry position. You need to play this champion if you want to climb. And unironically, a lot of players in the higher elo will think of you as an inflated player if you only play Kaisa in the AD carry position. This champion is just too good to not play in solo queue. But now let's talk about the problems when you're playing Kaisa. Unlocking your camera is one of the hardest part of this champion and in this game alone. However, you need to see what's happening outside of your normal field of vision if you want to play this champion and the game to its full potential. You'll all the time miss so many things that you could have done differently in order to carry a game. And by all the time, I really mean all the time. If you had the ability to easily access your replays and go back and forth inside of them, please Riot Games, do that in the future, very fast, I love it, you would really understand what you're missing out on. And the next thing you're missing out on is Rakan on the support role. This champion is straight up not balanced in the way he works. So for example, Rakan in the laning phase, obviously not the strongest of the champions, but he has a few things going for him. Number 1, the hitbox on his second ability. Like other abilities, this hitbox is just not true and it's just a lie and will get you caught all the time. But in laning phase itself, starting on level 2, Rakan can slowly begin to dominate the lane by fishing with his ground entrance. He can do so on level 1 with the Zarya, but there's a lot of risk involved. However, if both players are on the same page, the risk can be minimized, and since your damage is so absolutely insane in their duo combination, you will be done with them in a flash. And as we move on from this champion's power spike in lane, we can talk about his ultimate power spike. Once we reach the point where we are talking about objectives, so usually the 4th minute of the game, being level 5 is something that is very valuable. So for Rakan, being level 5 he can almost always secure a kill with his ultimate ability. It's absolutely easy to set up and there's no real counterplay unless you know what's coming. And even if you know what's coming, this champion is so unbelievably fast that you might not even see what's happening. And since we talked about the camera earlier on, we need to talk about the camera again. Because if you don't see where this champion is coming from, having your normal mobile view is not going to be enough to react fast enough unless you have inhuman reaction speed. And since people love scaling anyway, this champion is good in the earlier stages of the game, the middle stages of the game and the late stages of the game. Simply for the fact of how the champion works and the items he can go. For example, you will never feel really bad going Rod of Ages and Zeke's on this champion. It is just too good, too powerful and provides too much. Just for reference, Rod of Ages provides 120 AP, a lot of HP and some mana. On the other side, Zeke's provides magic resist, armor, ability haste, mana and some nice bonus effect that amplifies your damage and the damage of your ally. Now if you take the resistances into account, it gives you a lot of effective HP because of the resistances you're getting, which in return bolster the power of your Rod of Ages. And now let's talk about another Zeke's abuser. And with this, we have Jarvan in the jungle. Jarvan in the jungle is an easy to pilot, more durable and yet damage heavy oriented champion that can also assassinate, tank and bully most other champions in the game. So he's basically a jack of all trades. Quite insane, right? So for example, for this champion to be super annoying, you can do things like 2 camps such as red buff and the chickens and then transition through the middle lane. All you have to do is place your banner correctly, charge in, and then you most likely get a flash because red buff on melee champion is just unbalanced. Then with the priority you got from this little gank, you can just go for the scuttle crab you want and the enemy champion can't do much about it. However, even if you can't do this, you can go for a normal clear, such as 3 camps or maybe even 4 camps into a normal scuttle crab and then look what you can do. But once you get to level 5, you can start influencing the map brutally. You now have multiple tools to close the distance and lock the enemy down, so make use of them. But here's also a little trick. Rather than using the 3rd and 1st ability to go all in, you might just use your R and lock the enemies in place. Then after they are stuck thanks to your ultimate ability, you can use your combo to get out or look for other targets at the same time. With this, your teammates can take easy care of them. And for another item that is pretty broken on this champion, it's for one Black Cleaver and for the other one Zeke's Convergence. Zeke's Convergence is just an unbalanced item and you should always think about buying this item if you're into being a more supportive champion. Which is quite ironic because this item grants you a lot of damage and your ally a lot of damage, plus giving you resistances, so this item is just borderline bonkers. And speaking about bonkers, let's talk about a bonkers Baron laner. And for this we have Renekton. And Renekton is similar to Ahri in that sense that he can almost always be blind pinged into anything. He enjoys the benefits of being weak-sided, however if he starts snowballing and gets towards the Blade of the Ruined King, it's going to be a one-sided massacre up in the Baron lane. And you'll be surprised, this champion is just good in any situation. He becomes a very durable foe in any situation, and he can be a perfect setup for your jungle. For this, generally said, Renekton offers a great gank and dive setup, because all he has to do is also tag you with the stun, and then you're locked up, and then you're most likely dead. And this champion's damage is straight up not balanced. As we enter the later stages of the game, once he completed his Black Cleaver and the Blade of the Rune King, he is going to one-shot an enemy AD carry. Trust me, it never is fun for the enemy AD carry to be facing a Renekton, unless the AD carry has enough mobility to do so. But let's quickly talk about his laning phase. He is really not the strongest champion level 1 and is probably the most vulnerable during his level 1. However, the more he gets into his levels, the stronger he's going to become. Quite obvious, right? But for level 2 or level 3, his power is really increasing a lot. On level 2, he can go for a quick trade depending on what he's skilling, like second or third ability, and on level 3 he can almost always all-in you. And everything he needs for this is enough Fury. So whenever you're facing a Renekton and see that he has 50 Fury or is close to getting 50 Fury, stay away from him. You really need to, because if he touches you, you're going to lose. And you're going to lose very fast, and once he's snowballing, well, remember the part about the Blade of the Rune King? Well, you die. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you all for watching, hit the like and subscribe button, and come back tomorrow for more Challenger content. See you there.